The ninth year of H.B. Reed's one book brought the author Conor Grennan to Huntington. Conor, whose book, The Little Princess, tells the story of himself as a 29-year-old man who only wanted to be a one-time volunteer and travel the world.
I didn't expect the experience I had. I wasn't that enthusiastic about volunteering initially. But I went out, I was taking care of kids that I thought were orphans in the middle of a civil war in Nepal, only to learn months later that these children were actually trafficked children and actually had parents, and they had been stolen from their parents.
And enlightening us and saying, these kids aren't orphans, these are trafficked kids, they all have parents. So this was an extraordinary moment. The reason the kids never told us was because they had learned very early on that if they ever mentioned that they actually had parents, they would get beaten very severely. So they thought that we would beat them if they ever found out.
And what that led me to do ultimately was start an organization called Next Generation Nepal, which was really just me. And I ended up going off into the mountains, into this very remote parts of the country, and really some of the most remote parts of the world, in the Himalaya, sort of some of the most remote parts of the world, and right near Everest and everywhere else.
I wanted to do a trek to Everest Base Camp. I didn't climb Everest. I understand you had a father-son team the other day. You did. I just got to the base camp. I never wanted to go any higher.
And the amazing thing about this was to go deep into the villages and the mountains and walking and finding the families one after the other after walking for weeks at a time.
Little Princess, one man's promise to bring home the lost children of Nepal, takes the reader through an unbelievable journey that Conor chronicled live at the Huntington Beach Central Library Theater. For H.B. Reed's supporters, fans, sponsors like the Kiwanis Club of Huntington Beach, the UPS store downtown Huntington Beach, Rainbow, and many others, this was a remarkable event to be involved in. The folks at REI at Bellaterra presented an earlier event, the story of John and Ryan Dalem, the father and son team who did make the trek up Everest. A fascinating parallel experience to Conor, overcoming exhausting challenges while cementing lifelong relationships along the way.
The big lesson of the book is that we should be able to get up and go do something and find a cause. I mean, people have created all sorts of nonprofits in Huntington Beach. We should look at the library. You can look at shelters for domestic violence. There are people working on the homeless. I mean, we don't all have to watch television every night.
Instead, grab a book. H.B. Reed's one book, chartered through the Human Relations Task Force, encourages literacy and the insights into diversity. The visit by author Conor Grennan, whose book was distributed throughout the Huntington Beach Union High School District, accomplishes the H.B. Reed's one book's mission.
Yeah, H.B. Reed's and One Community Reads is an extraordinary thing that we can do in this country. It's an opportunity for people to come together and have a shared experience in this kind of, with this new experience like a book. Like everybody goes to Nepal together, everybody experiences these kids together. And there's nothing quite like the power of community and the power of being able to talk about it and talk about what this means for us and the implications for us and our families and the future generations that has such an impact on sort of one community, even out here in Huntington Beach.
But this is the extraordinary thing, that it worked. And it was also accidental. And the only skill that I brought to this was like, you know what, we're just going to try to do this over and over every day. You know what, we're just going to try. We're just going to try. We're just going to try. So Next Generation Nepal is an organization. It's, we've probably reconnected probably about 500 kids with their families now. Again, it's been tough. It's hard work. I'll put it back on him because he's so much cuter. But this is sort of like where this began and where it led. And there's obviously a lot more to the story, but I'll save it. But it's an honor to be invited out to something like this and to be able to share this with the community. You guys have a great organization out here. It's a great community. I've loved it out here. And to be able to share this story about these kids on the other side of the world is very surreal to me. So I really appreciate that.
Next year will be the 10th year of One Community reading one book in Huntington Beach. For Surf City Highlights, this is Matt Liffring.